should be in a moment.
You're
Yay,
live.
I'm live. Here we are. Yes, I was on the Mark Zicree channel by mistake. Sorry, guys, but welcome, welcome, welcome. It's the live stream of Mr. Sci-Fi and the table. So,
There it is.
yes. So Dave, would you like to take your turn and say what's going on with you?
Give me a few minutes. I have to answer a text.
Uh-oh, look out.
Then we'll move on.
Okay, so Steve, you wanna
Hi, Steve.
chime in?
Unmute. Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
You are, yay.
You are.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, done with the Hunchback of Bel Air movie. I'm selling it.
Okay.
And I'm approaching Tubi. And I need some help because Tubi's owned by Fox.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting all their material from all kinds of sources, big budget movies and
Wow.
things like that.
Uh-huh.
Not a big budget movie, but it's an anti-bullying thriller.
Yes.
I have the name of the acquisition chief over at Tubi.
Yes.
They're in San Francisco, but I don't know how to approach them because they only have a switchboard and you have to leave a message.
Huh. Well, that's not ideal.
I'll be one of 1,000 guys.
Right. What I would suggest you do, there's that producer who's a member of the table. What's his name? He's the Latino guy, Garcia. William Garcia. Yes, I think you should reach out to William and see if he has any advice about that, because he's a working producer and he probably knows some of the people at Tubi, and so that would be And also remember that.
I did that with him. He says he's too busy right now with his own project, so I can't get any.
Well, there's the way you can do that. You can say, "Can I hire you as a consultant?" Money talks. The other thing is to remember that most executives have social media. They're on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, and so that's another way sometimes to reach them. But yeah, I don't ever leave messages on an answering machine if I can help it, because it's 99% of the time they don't return the call. So yeah, I think finding other ways to crack that would be a very good idea. Some of the film markets are starting. Well, they have Zoom components, but in the next few months they'll be starting up physical meetings again, and that's usually a good place to meet these kind of network executives. So so you might check that out as well.
Does anybody know anybody at Cinedigm?
No.
Cinedigm is an aggregator, and I'm finding out the aggregators that deal with the streamers or the platforms
Right.
are the way to go, because they can get right in their doors and they're at them all the time. But I don't know any aggregators or people like Cinedigm or any
Right.
other people that have them under their wing.
Well, what you can do is that there's certain conferences. MIP TV is one of them. What's the one in England? And then there's one here, and those aggregators go to those conferences, and so it's a very good way to meet them personally. And again, you could also send out an email to the table saying, has anyone dealt with either of these two companies? And someone might have experience.
How do you pitch your project?
You just did.
How do I pitch it?
Yeah, just did.
You mean the log line or?
Yeah, I mean, you said it was
It's an anti-bullying horror film.
An anti-bullying
That's fine.
horror film. But is there, in terms of pitching yourself or pitching the excitement of the piece? I mean, it's interesting when you say an anti-bullying horror film. But is there anything else that you can say that would say, oh well, this guy's probably got something really hot, or he's like a pro, or was there something that? What can you say that would get me excited?
Well, other than it was a unscripted movie, kind of like the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity. Those were done most profitable movies of all time without scripts.
Mm.
So my movie is unscripted, but it has tremendous acting and character-driven parts in there, because the people got to play themselves in a position if they were, in peril. So they didn't have to read a script; they could just tell people what they would be, and they did it. So acting is character-driven, and acting is incredible.
Okay.
So,
Is there have you done a little piece of it, a little promo of it that you were?
Is there a trailer?
I've got. If you go to the webpage, if you just Google Bel Air Hunchback
Yes.
or Hunchback of Bel Air, either one,
Yes.
all kinds of stuff are going to come up there. The free media that we've gotten and everything else.
Great.
The web page is the Hunchback Movie 2021.
Mm-hmm.
You go to IMDb Pro, Hunchback of Bel Air.
Great.
It's all there.
Great.
There's a 6-minute sequel. I mean, a 6-minute clip. There's a trailer. The webpage tells you everything, all the hot stuff about this movie. So,
that's great.
That's great. I mean,
Well,
it's wonderful you have someplace to direct people. So the next thing would be to direct people there.
Yeah, but definitely put out an email to the table with who you're trying to reach, because you never know who knows somebody. So that would be where I would start. Anything else?
It's on Facebook too. So if you go to
good.
Facebook / Bel Air Hunchback,
Sure.
it's there.
Great.
So
Okay. Cool. Yay! 3 cheers. Excellent. So, are there any Mr. Sci-Fi questions yet, Adam Sartain?
Not yet.
Uh-oh.
But,
Look out.
A few people introducing themselves, including Guylinda, who is here
Great.
with us, as well as watching on Mr. Sci-Fi.
Cool. That's great. So
but we have 15 people watching too. So
that's
hello to
double digits. Double digits. So
Yeah.
we're rolling. Dave, are you ready yet, or should I go to Christine? Go to Christine. Okay, Christine, do you want to take your turn?
I am sorry, the school executive assistant work table member for less than 5 years, about 5 years, and I am always very thankful for the encouragement that this group has, whether it's this Zoom meeting, the in-person meetings that we used to have,
We're gonna have them soon.
the email system.
Yes.
Those are all things that I've benefited from greatly.
Yeah.
There's a lot more emails about people being funded, talking about people creating projects. So that's exciting that the world is really seeing an opening and being receptive to more than just essential workers, because I do think that essential is creative arts that we're all part of. I don't have any asks, and that's it for today.
Okay. 3 cheers. Yay. Excellent. Great. So Adam, are there any Mr. Sci-Fi questions yet?
Still no
Nothing.
questions.
Nothing.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's a nightmare.
Wait. We've
yes.
got one. Scott Baker coming in clutch.
Those Scott.
So let's see. He asked, if you go on hiatus again, will
Yes.
you warn the fans in a short video so we don't show up to a whole lot enough?
Yes, I can do that. It's rare that we're out of town, and but after the Kickstarter campaign, we really needed a few days in the mountains.
But that is a fair request.
Wasn't able to get it lunch last week.
And unfortunately, I was unavailable because I was shooting a pilot.
Okay.
To help him get that done. But
Okay. Well, sorry about that, guys.
usually, at least one of us is here to make that happen.
Yes. But so now we're going to be announcing a very cool thing shortly on Mr. Sci-Fi, so we'll talk about that probably tonight. And absolutely, that's fair, Scott. So, but I'm very glad to be back. So tonight you can expect a whole lot of something. So we'll see how it goes. But let's see, Dave, you ready yet? Are you still doing?
Yes. I've texted. Hi everyone. Hello, Mr. Sci-Fires, Mr. Siffies. Hope everyone's well. Hello, people here on Zoom.
Yeah.
I've sort of have a week off this week.
Yay.
Sort of.
Yay.
I've done a few things. Did you get the new version I sent you?
Yes, and now you're there's a lot of distortion in your mic, just to let you know.
Better?
Yeah, much better. So
See, I was go to a headphone. Now I'm back on the speaker.
Okay.
This works.
okay.
Anyway, so there.
Yes.
Okay. So I sent you a new version of 102.
Yes.
There's some new VFX shots in there. So we are creeping forward to getting it done.
Yes. Good.
Incredibly creepy. And I'm trying to take care of some other stuff. I did some recycling
Mm-hmm.
for the first time in 16 months. So,
Yes.
So they got that stuff out of the house and out of the way. And
Cool.
I'm just trying to do a few little personal things. Took a day off
Yes.
yesterday. Drove up the coast. Got
Wow.
to spend some time with my wife, answering those questions such as, "And you are."
Now, just to clarify, Dave, you should explain that your wife doesn't live up the coast. You know, that you went with her up the coast.
we drove up the coast, and she was inside the car.
Yes, good, nice. Good. Okay.
So anyway, so if you need anything before Monday, just let me know. But otherwise, I'm just taking care of a few odds and. Odds are and bigger than the others.
Cool. We watched 102 today, the new version, and we have notes, but we'll give them to you next week. Okay. So so because there's nothing urgent.
Excellent. Good. You're used to the story by now. No new surprises in that regard, though, right?
Some solutions and also one shot. The visual effects fell out. So you know.
But we were looking at your animatic. Of the comic, and it was amazing.
Oh yeah, your animatic of the prequel is great.
Just amazing.
So it's you are the maestro.
Thank you. Yes, we got some nice new artwork from Tahani Farr, but it's just the covers of the Mira Furlan special issue, but very nice work. Yeah, well, we also got the high the high res of all of her pages. So yeah. I sent that to you. Oh, did we? That wasn't the link that I got, but I'll check again.
Yeah. I sent it to you.
I opened the link that you got. Cover shots.
Okay.
All right. Well, that'll give me something to do then. I'll go check that out. Everybody, stay well, be well. We'll see what happens when we resume Marie calendars.
Yes.
I'll tell you one thing about this Zoom meeting past year. Saved me about $700-800 on Marie calendar.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, and
that wasn't just one meal. That was
right.
A year plus.
You're a big tipper. But the one thing about that is I'm going to put out an email asking for advice on how we're going to continue with the Zoom aspect of this while having in-person meetings. I'm not sure yet. I have some ideas, but we'll see how it all congeals. So great. But 3 cheers. Yay, Dave.
That's the words I call love and dread when you say, I have an idea.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But so great. So Adam, do we have a Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we do. We have an Arkansas Big Dog Hensley question.
Good.
He wants to know, what is the normal filming time for a 30-minute show?
Usually about like a few days. I mean, like a week. It just depends on the show. It depends on the budget. An hour show usually shoots in about a week or a week and change, like maybe 6 to 8 days. A half-hour show depends on if it's in front of an audience or if it's shot like an hour show, and
it's a multicam.
one camera versus multicam. But again, everyone's doing things so differently nowadays. It's mainly an aspect more of the money that you have than anything else. One of the things they do now that they didn't used to do when I started in television was folding 2 or 3 episodes together and block shooting, and that's really challenging because what that means is, like, let's say you have a living room set, you shoot all the scenes of 3 episodes in that set together, and then you move on to the next thing and shoot all that together. And so the actors and the director and the crew all have to know very, very specifically where they are and which one. And so it makes it harder because, you usually shoot out of order of the scenes, but when you're folding, 3 episodes together, like 3 decks of cards, and then shuffling, that makes it, the director definitely has to know what he's doing, because that can go way awry, and the continuity person has to absolutely know what they're doing, because you have to have the person in the right wardrobe and all that stuff. So, yep.
Is that what I've heard referred to as cross-boarding?
Yes, yes, crossboarding, yes. And it's and sometimes if a director doesn't complete doing that, then the next director who comes on the show has to do a few pickup shots. I mean, I remember once Michael Nankin, one day he got triple his day rate because he was shooting scenes from 3 different episodes, and the Directors Guild required them to pay him 3 times the amount. So we made a ton of money that day. So that's pretty interesting. So, but yeah, absolutely. So let's.
I was. The natives are getting restless.
And, okay.
I should probably take my turn again.
Yes, please, sure.
Yeah, because they didn't hear what I mentioned shooting a pilot, and they're wondering whether I used a gun on a airline captain.
Yeah, given the news. Well, I hope you didn't fly Delta, but okay, go ahead.
So hello everyone again. I'm Adam Sartain.
Oh no, Adam. I think from now on you should introduce yourself as Adam Big Dog Sartain.
Adam Big Dog. I think that nickname's already taken.
Well,
I do have a nickname, which is Super Adam.
Wow.
Which I got in college. That was my, and it's because I wore a Superman baseball cap. It's kind of benign. But I can't. Yeah, I won't get into the other details. Sight reading faster than a speeding bullet.
Yes.
But so I'm Adam, or Super Adam, if you will, Sartain, and I'm an actor, voice actor, and associate producer on Space.
Yay!
And it's been a very, very busy week for those of you, and I apologize to Mark and Dave and Steve who've heard this already, but I did last week I did a pilot shoot for a pilot episode of Fat John the Vampire Slayer, in which I played the title character. And I played with Assad, who I invited tonight.
Oh, cool.
He played my sidekick.
Good.
My best friend in the show.
Great.
So I thought I'd invite him to this wonderful group.
Great.
And hopefully, get him in on the amazing things that this group can do.
Yes.
So I did the pilot, and that's done. And Shrek is coming up.
Great.
July 9th. And Space Command, as always, is always moving and doing things. What else? And my podcast, Inside Animation. For those of you who haven't heard, go listen. We've just had a huge influx of listeners from my last. Unfortunately, Mark, your episode has been usurped.
Oh no!
As the highest listened to episode. My latest episode with Darcy Rose Burns. Was my first voice actor on the show.
Wow.
She just did voices in Legend of Korra, and Sophia the First, which is a Disney show, and like a bunch of other stuff. She's also currently live action acting on Disney's. Oh gosh, what is it called? Some basketball type thing, but it's on Disney Plus. Anyway, we have a very great chat, and I highly recommend if you're interested in animation at all, listening to my podcast, or if you're involved in the animation industry, I need guests, so contact me. Let me know. I'll put my info in the chat.
Great.
Or if you know anyone who's in and I mean not just voice actors, but like directors, producers, anyone who's attached to animation in any way, I will talk to you.
Great.
I will put you on my podcast.
Well, Adam, I was involved intimately in the worst ever animated Christmas special.
Really? Well, we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is just, if it was a little bit better, it would be unwatchable. It's just horrid.
Great.
I need to squeeze 30 minutes out of you.
And somehow, and believe me, easy enough. And somehow, instead of fading into obscurity, it's managed to get a bit of a cult following. I don't know how. But anyway,
that's cool.
If you like to talk, I can bring it. I can bring along my buddy and I will work.
Okay, great.
Yeah, have you tried the
yeah, that's
Adam? Have you tried the animation
caucus
at the Guild?
No, not yet. I think I will do that.
That'd be great. Yes,
Writers
absolutely.
Yeah.
You bet. And anything else?
They have a Facebook page, don't they?
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
They're nice guys.
Yeah,
Really nice guys.
And gals.
And
yeah.
gals.
So anything else?
No, that's it for me again.
Okay. Yay! 3 cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Let's see. We've gotten a lot of stuff here. So, okay. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Scott Baker, a Scott Baker question.
You bet.
He says, I've been greenlit to start working on curriculum for a screenwriting/production class.
Cool.
For an arts education nonprofit.
Great.
This is for kids 12 to 18.
Great.
Any chance you'd care to help in some way?
Well, if you ever want to work up a Zoom thing where they can ask me questions, sure.
You mentioned Zoom, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd be happy to do a Zoom session where I could answer their questions or talk about how one breaks into this crazy business or any of that stuff. Sure, yeah, just follow up. Email me at markzicree@gmail.com and we can definitely make that happen. So sure, you bet.
Yeah. So great.
Cool. Yeah, and again, see, the great thing now, as opposed to when I was a kid, is that back then the best you could do usually when you were a kid would be like a Super 8 movie, a silent Super 8 film, unless you had money. Whereas now everybody's got a video camera in their pocket, so it makes, and they can edit on a Mac or a PC, and then they put it up on the internet. So it's just hugely more possible to do things than it used to be. So that's terrific. So let's see. So Galenda, I guess it's you. If you want to, there you go.
Okay.
Yay!
Find my unmute button there.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Galenda Bruden. I am very, very happy to have been invited to join the table. I've been in the sci-fi fan for a while here, and I'm really excited about everything Space Command.
Me too.
Happy to get involved in emailing with Dave. We're going to see what we can get involved in. If there's something I can do to help out. Great. Long week, but I've just really been looking forward to being here and seeing everybody's faces and saying hi. Cool. And take the break from the mundanity of my daily job, definitely.
That's great. That's great.
I'm really amused with myself. I found an artifact. I haven't seen one of these in a while.
Wow.
I have forgotten what it was.
Yes. Yes.
Right now, so I don't use any of that. I'm like, where did this even come from?
That's great.
Yeah, it's been a fun week. My big highlight of the week was my guilty fandom is I ordered the Tommy Wiseau talking bobblehead from the room. And it came, the box came stuff with all kinds of little bitty putting a lot of my pictures. So I thought it was really amusing. But, I don't know about his talent as far as acting and directing and all that, but it's a really funny dude.
That's great. That's great. So anything you need? Anything else?
No, I don't have any asks. But I am here. If we can find somebody for me to help out, I'm happy.
Yeah,
that's great. I'm sure we can.
That'll be great. Yeah, I mean, the whole Space Command operation is growing by leaps and bounds. We've got the comic book, the photo novel, the novel by Maya Bonhoff. We've got the first 3 hours. The first hour is more or less finished. Second hour is almost finished now. Third hour will be finished by within the next 4 months. I mean, it's just, we're rolling. And then there's the Showrunners Network with all the other shows we're doing, and Lane's projects, and just tons of stuff. And I just turned in the new book as well. So it's pretty busy here. So, but yeah.
Oh, I wanted to mention, you've got this thing, it works kind of like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tablet, but it's remote control.
Wow.
So we're assigned into whatever Zoom on the tablet can remotely drive it around and go to meeting.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
it's got that, as far as, maintaining and doing stuff, having something independent, to follow around might be cool. I have no idea how expensive they are, though. I'll have to ask if they can.
Sure. That's fun. That's very fun.
Yeah.
Well, we love seeing those little delivery robots.
The Amazon robots are very, very cute,
Yes.
so
moving around with their names and
yes.
They drive around town here.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the robot overlords. I think they run things probably better than we have.
Yes, no doubt. So, well, great to see you. 3 cheers. Yay.
Wait, Elaine, your neighborhood has Amazon delivery robots?
Yes.
They go rolling down
they have
the
names.
sidewalk.
They have names, and they've got little googly eyes and smiles. They're cute as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They.
And how do the twins react?
The dogs?
They haven't.
They're oblivious. They're oblivious.
They haven't seen them, but they just roll quietly by. And sometimes, somebody's walking behind them, and somebody says, "Oh, he's operating the robot." But
no, they're not. They're autonomous.
They're autonomous, going to drop.
They stop at. They stop at red lights. They move along the sidewalk. They're very cute.
They are.
And okay.
Yeah, cool stuff. Cool. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
No, nothing right
now.
No.
Okay. So, Carol, you want to jump in and take your turn?
Hi. I hope you had a nice time wherever you went.
The mountains, big bear. Yeah.
We all need to get away. Oh God, this heat is just so oppressive. I don't know if any of you are feeling as by it as I.
Yeah.
But I'm not enjoying it. Okay, so actress. I had a meeting with with a director who works a lot's assistant based on something that I wrote. She could not have been less attentive.
Huh. Wow.
I will bet anything she was doing her nails and polishing them underneath the table while she was talking to me. And I was right on the cusp of saying, should I say something? I know how. Should I say something or should I not? I just went right through, and then I said, well, it's seems like that's everything you need to know, right? She went, yeah, it was great.
Jeez.
Wow.
Aye.
Yeah. I don't even know. And I wonder if her higher up, if her employer knows how dismissive she was. I don't know. So either she got what she needed, she was totally disinterested, or she's waiting for her boyfriend to call. I don't know.
Well, what were you trying to have happen there? What was your objective?
A friend of mine turned me on to her employer, who's a director who is doing lots of crime stuff. In my novel, Crime.
Okay.
She made the connection.
And
the director was more than willing to listen, but she sent her assistant. So there's a whole bunch of glitches, of communication glitches all the way down. It's like, why did she send her assistant? And her assistant was, I have to think about this. I have to think about which way I want to take this.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky part is the way people, how can I say this? When someone sends their assistant to handle something, it means they don't want to do it, and the assistant doesn't want to do it either. So the assistant is coming in with a resentment that they're having to sit there, and they often are just waiting for it to end so they can go away. And so sometimes you can take charge of that by stopping as soon as possible and saying, listen, clearly you don't want to be here. And I probably your boss has just kind of fobbed it off on you, but let's talk about this and see if there's a way to make it of value to both of us. Because right now it's not a value to either of us. Yeah. I mean, I remember one time I was pitching to Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it was to Bert Armus, who was a producer. And when I started the meeting, I always take 2 weeks solid to prep a pitch to Star Trek. And I was really solid in terms of what I was coming in with. And he didn't know who I was. When I entered, he said, "Who's your agent?" And I said, "Candy Montero." And he said, "Never heard of her." And then he started, while I was pitching, he started to play not with a calculator, but with the keypad of a calculator. It wasn't attached to a calculator. He was just playing with it. And he was totally dismissive and totally rude. And so I thought, well, I'm going to pitch beyond him, as though I were pitching to an enthusiastic audience. I'm not going to let his lack of professionalism and disrespect change the level, the quality of what I'm coming in with. So I finished the first of I had like 6 fully developed storylines. And the first one, at the end of it, he said, no, that wouldn't work because this, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no. If you were listening, you would have noticed that this leads to this, leads to this. And that's why, so there isn't a hole there. And he said, oh, that's right. And he said, okay. And then he sat up a little more straight. And he said, okay, what else you got? And by the end of the 6, he wanted to hear all 6. He wanted to buy 3 of them. And by the end of the meeting, he walked me out the door with his arm around me. And then he got fired. So before he could buy them, he got fired. This happened for about a 2-year period where everyone I would pitch to on Star Trek The Next Generation got fired before they could buy it. That was Tracy Torme, David Gerald. It went on and on and on. But the thing was, for me, it was a useful experience because my goal was to tell him, you're not doing your job. I'm here doing my job. I'm a professional, and you should treat me with professionalism. And by me staying on my game, got him to stop fucking around and really do his job. And so that was a very useful lesson for me, that I could change him just by being on my game. And so that was, but again, it's Hollywood is extremely hierarchical, and everyone in Hollywood, almost everyone, divides the entire world into 2 camps: people we should pay attention to and people we don't need to pay attention to. Okay, and if you're lumped in with people we don't need to pay attention to, they're going to treat you like shit. And so it's always a game about, okay, how can I get them to put me in the camp of people I need to pay attention to? And there's a lot of different ways to do that, and it's always shifting, but it's definitely a challenge. And but that's why I just wrote that book, Greenlighting Yourself, because it's like there's so many secret rules in Hollywood, so many things they don't tell you about. But it's there's a lot of really churlish behavior. But when a boss fobs something off on his assistant, usually boss isn't interested, and his lack of interest is conveyed to the assistant, and that's what the assistant is coming in with. So
I'm also not a little baffled and not extremely excited about this new literary manager either. But she's on probation in my head.
What's she doing? What's she doing wrong?
She said to me, "Write the pilot to your second book."
Yes.
And I write fast. When I was done, I called her. I said, "I'm really excited. I have it."
Uh-huh.
I called her on a Wednesday. She didn't call back. I called her on a Thursday. She didn't call back. I called her on a Friday. I said, "Brenda, I don't want to overload you, but I said to you, you asked for it, and I finished it, and it's good."
Yes.
So she didn't call back. I don't like that one bit.
Right.
She can this stuff.
Well, a good way around that would be to text her and say, "Are you out of town? I haven't been hearing back from you." Okay.
Oh, she finally did. I finally called her 6 days later.
Right.
At the time, was the management company closed? She
Mm-hmm.
went, "Oh yeah, I got your messages." I said, "Are you really busy?" She said, "Well, we're interviewing a new person to bring in. We finally need someone to do administrative work." And I said, "Oh, okay." And she said, "One of the interns read your first book, The Dating Down, and really liked it. I've got coverage on it." I said, "Oh, did you look at the coverage?" She said, "Not yet."
Well,
It doesn't have many writers here. It's mostly actors, composers, and choreographers.
Well,
so I'm as writer on this thing. But,
yeah, it doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound great.
Thank you. I agree.
No, I mean, you can. I don't like agents who rep actors as well as writers, because actors are treated like shit, and usually agents who rep both actors and writers treat the writer clients like shit because they're used to treating the actors like shit. Whereas agents who are exclusively writers agents or writers managers have respect for the written word. They like scripts, they like writers, they like stories. They like them so much better because they're not actors, And so but if I look back at my life, I regret every time I wasn't direct with people. The trick is to be direct without being angry, and it's a challenge. But if you can remove emotionalism from it and just be direct and say, "Look, I can't run after you. If I call you, you know, you have to call me back within 24 hours. I can't do it. Otherwise it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time for me. And I don't have the time to waste.
Has she sold anything in terms of literary?
Yes, they even produced a couple movies. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
But, you know, but again, give her a little more.
Oh, for sure.
But also, anytime but it's very important that you start setting deadlines where you say to her, okay, I've written the pilot. What's your turnaround time to read it?
She asked me to do it.
You know, no, but
I said, I get you to write something. You've seen my log lines. What do you like?
But
and she said, oh, you pilot your second book. I want to see it. I went, well, all right.
But have you asked her what her turnaround time in reading it is?
No, I did not.
I would do that immediately. You've got to set deadlines for her. Okay.
Also, one thing that a lot of representatives really value in clients being somewhat lazy is that you come up with possibilities of people that you feel would be appropriate
For it.
Yes. And to say, I've been checking into these areas.
Yes.
I was going to start calling around. Would you rather that I call or that you call?
Yeah.
And just really, I mean, come in with several names of appropriate buyers.
I gave a wish list.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Well, people. I mean, look and
for it. She didn't even tell me she got. I said, "Did you get my wish list?" She said, "Oh yeah."
Well, then.
No, but see, the thing is, you. How can I explain this? I hate people who don't do their jobs.
Thank you.
And, you know, and amazingly, one of the agents I had who was an incredible lout in terms of fucking things up was the head of movies at CAA. He was a huge agent, but he was 1 foot out the door. He was sort of like past his prime and kind of over it. And Will Smith wanted to buy one of my screenplays, and he didn't close the deal. Amazing. That would have been at least $1 million. And you know, I mean, my agent read the script, loved it. The next day he sent it to Will Smith's company. By the next day after that, they wanted to buy it. Okay. And he dropped the ball, and it's like, fuck. And so, not to curse, but it's sort of like at this stage in my life, I don't have time. If someone's on my team, they have to do the job. And if they don't do the job, I don't want to waste any more time.
I'm used to it. I mean, theatrically, my agents have been average. My commercial agents were fantastic.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I'm used to this.
Yes. I mean, you know, once you start selling and generating revenue, then then that helps a lot. But again, set deadlines with her. Say, when you're going to have this read, you know. But again, don't come at it with resentment. Come at it with just like professionalism. It's like, when, you know, what's your turnaround time? And if she says, well, let's say a week, okay, then you say, okay, well, I'll check back in a week, you know.
It insinuates that she's not feeling well, so I don't know if that's an excuse or if something's really going on.
She insinuated she's not feeling well.
Not feeling well.
Well,
so I don't. Because if she's not, I don't want to push anything. But if that's just an excuse, let me push away.
Well, I mean, again, I think being direct is always a good idea. Okay, I'm sick of for myself again. I'm sick of trying to guess what's going on with people. I mean, it's like, are you sick? Are you dying? Are you, I mean, it's like, are you about to have your gallbladder taken out? What the hell? I mean, you can say, I mean, again, the lack of professionalism in so many areas in Hollywood is maddening, but also one has to remember that the people who are doing 90% of the work are a small corp of people in the industry. They're surrounded by people who are getting almost nothing done. And, so again, it's like, sometimes I say to people when I meet them, I say, look, I'm the real deal. And, it's like, when I write a book, it's already sold before I write it or whatever, it's like, I'm a professional. I'm a professional writer. I don't work with people who aren't professionals. I can't, I don't have the bandwidth. And, so anyway, I'm blathering, but the point is, be direct.
It's really, because I felt alone. I don't want to throw this out at my friends.
No, so but definitely set a deadline for her. Find out what her deadline is to read your script and hold her to it. And if you call back in a week and she hasn't gotten to it, you say, okay, well, when will you get to it? And just stay on it until she does, and because again, she asked you to write it. You're honoring your word. She needs to honor her word too. It's a two-way street.
One of the things I said to her, I said, you have an MBA. I think that's fantastic. It'll always work in your stead no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Maybe she negative. She said to me, I should have gotten it.
Well, again, don't overthink it. I mean, this is why also for all of us, it's very important to write down, what do I want to have happen? Because so many of us are going off in every direction at once with supposition and playing, and no, you wrote a pilot, you want her to read it. If she likes it, you want her to take it out and submit it. I mean, again, the more you can get into this is what I'm doing and this is what you need to do. It's a business relationship.
Now that you have a pilot,
you don't have to tiptoe. You don't have to tiptoe.
You have a pilot in hand. Do you know anybody else who could create an introduction for you to a real manager or agent?
From time to time I do look, and it seems so difficult.
Yeah,
it is difficult.
Yeah,
but it's always worth a search, especially that the lunches we've had with agents happen primarily when they realized we were looking for other agents.
Yeah, but again,
I mean, I don't know how they found out, but they found out, and suddenly we were invited to lunch.
Well,
and they were suddenly interested in us.
Yeah,
again.
Horrible. But yeah, so but again, just do. Get a deadline, okay, for her to read it. Okay, that's the starting point.
I really appreciate that. Thank you a lot.
Yes. You're welcome. And by the way, in terms of coverage, yeah, that guy at CAA, I wrote a book about my mom. CAA did coverage on it. They said it was terrific and that it would make a great movie. And he never even bothered to do anything beyond that. So he got glowing coverage from his own agency and never did anything with it. So again, the level of just astonishing incompetence is jaw-dropping.
There was a carrot at the end.
Yeah, but again,
it's fun to play with all this stuff and move it. I mean, it's fun. Let's see where it goes. Let's have a good time. Let's get in this together and have a good time.
Well, that's not their attitude. It's about money. So, but anyway, be that as it may. Anything else, Carol?
Well, thank you so much.
Of course. Yay! 3 cheers. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we do. We have another Arkansas Big Dog Hensley
question,
who asks, if you are painting a green wall, and I'm assuming this is for the purposes of like a green screen wall.
Maybe just likes green.
What shade of green is best?
That's an interesting question.
Dave?
Does Dave have an opinion?
Dave may know this as an editor.
There is paint specifically of that color.
Yeah. So what you would order green screen paint, right? Yeah.
Right, and it's easy enough to Google. I mean, I assume it might be on the RGBs. Yeah, it might be 255, but I'm not sure. I would Google it. Mr. Google has all the answers.
And yeah, absolutely. So great. So
to me, I never worry about the color of green. I worry more about how they light it.
Yes.
They light it nice and bright with no shadows on the back. Because you can key out any color.
Yes.
You can get it, but if you get that specific green and you don't light it properly, it's no good. So just worry about a bright green.
Yes.
And I do believe if you go to like Lowe's or something like that, they'll actually have something. They'll know exactly what it is.
Yes.
But just make sure you light it really, really bright. No shadows on the back wall, and if you light it right, I think as long as it's a bright green, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
guys, how far do they have to be from the not to have reflections? I know
from
you
the
can't
green.
From the green. What's an ideal distance from the green?
Mile and a half should be smooth.
You're so helpful. You're so helpful.
just don't have shadows falling on them.
That's the key. Is when it doesn't matter how far they are away from the green. It's just the further they are away from the green, the more likely there's going to be no shadows.
Yes. And again, they have to be careful, A, that they're not wearing the same color, and B, that there's nothing reflective on their clothes that could pick up that green. And, because that can be a problem. Yeah.
That's why I have to have a blue screen for Shrek.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. So,
I believe green screen came about because it wasn't Space Jam, because they're having a hard time keeping it out. Michael Jordan, because African Americans have blue in their skin.
Well, I think from when I was a kid, there was always blue screen and green screen, because the main thing was the color palette of what you were shooting. So if what you were shooting had no blue in it, you could do that. But obviously, if you're shooting blue screen and you need blue for some reason, then you're screwed. Anyway, it's your turn, Mark Gushowitz. So what would you like to talk about?
Okay, so since it's my turn,
What, Dave?
I was saying, and early on there was red screen, but that was a whole different chemical process.
Wow.
There you go. Okay, go for it.
I've never heard of red screen. I'll have to look into that. But I'll just add a couple of things. It's my turn. I'll add a couple of things that drive me nuts. One, if you have somebody that's holding up a clear glass, recognize you're going to see the green through the glass.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they pull the green, that glass is going bye-bye. And also glasses.
Mm-hmm.
If the green reflects in the back of the glasses, when you pull that green, you're going to get a hole in your head.
Uh-huh.
So a good thing to do is, if you get glasses, there's like a matte coating that you can put on it to stop the reflection.
Yes. Okay.
Anyway.
So it's your turn.
I once knew a guy who thought he was going to do this thing with orchestras and on a green screen and place them all over the world. And I said, brass and silver colored instruments are reflective. And they reflect green, and they're going to go away. Oh no, there's this spray we have. You can spray it on the instrument to keep it from reflecting. I said, even if that's the case, if you had a valuable instrument, would you let some idiot spray it?
Yeah.
Well, not only that, brass and gold have green in them.
Yes. Yes.
So like I had somebody and they like made sure you don't put any green in the clothing, and then they came and it was kind of this gold dress, but it looked very green, but it's gold.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't you put them in something that had no green in it?
Yeah. So it's your turn, Mark. What's going on?
Okay. Okay, so I feel like I came in at the exact wrong time because you guys were talking about people who do a lot of talking and don't seem to get a lot done. And I've been doing a lot of work, but I've been feeling lately like I'm not getting a lot done.
Mm-hmm.
But I am. So I've been having this talk with myself because I feel like my website can be up by now, but this paid work is coming that's kind of pushing it aside. We've had some health issues scared with my dad. And all of my supplies, my website not up, and I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself.
Okay.
And it's because I technically, if I can write one more review, hoping that I can get this thing up. Well, if I'm hoping I can get this thing up. So hopefully that's going to happen within the next week. My goal is to have my website up on Friday.
That's great.
That's tomorrow. Week from tomorrow.
Cool. Great.
Something arranged that for me 2 weeks ago really kind of stuck. And I think Mark, you had disappeared with the dogs or something.
Yeah.
She had said persistent. You just got to stay persistent, and as long as you stay persistent, it will happen.
Yes, it's true.
She's looking like she doesn't remember.
I do remember.
Elaine remembers everything.
I do remember because I was listening to tales of persistence from the group, which was just really impressing.
Yes, but you're no, absolutely, that's great. Oh, before I forget, there was something I wanted to mention. I'm sorry, Mark. I just want to mention it for some of the table members that want to know about this. There's a great new channel called Broadway HD that has Broadway and London dramas and musicals. It's astonishing. It's like $8 a month, but they've got enormous amounts of stuff. From the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way to the present. Phenomenal. We're watching Moon for the Misbegotten with Colleen Dewhurst and Jason Robards right now. It's terrific. Anyway, getting back to you, Mark Gushowitz, the most important man in the room.
So I've just been trying to keep that what she said for weeks in my head because I feel like the website should be up by now. But,
Great.
You get sidetracked.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be one of those people who keeps talking and then the work doesn't seem to be getting done. So I really, really am trying to push them forward. So it's
cool.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I still haven't come up with a name. I put word out to the table. I got a lot of good names in, but they're all taken. I even put a reward out there. I said that there's going to be 8 movies on it that are going to be on the website when it first comes out. If I use your name, I will give you a Blu-ray of any one of those 8 movies, your choice. Just to kind of get the ball rolling. But I still need a name. I was watching a really bad sitcom the other day, and there was an episode about film club, and they they used the word focus. And all of a sudden, like 10 names came into my head with the word focus in it, and all of them were taken.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you got Mr. Sci-fi. Oh, that wasn't taken.
Just lucky. But yeah, it's a challenge, but it'll come eventually. You know.
I figure it has to, and if I put a deadline on myself, hopefully, depending on how this week goes, the situation like that.
Yeah.
I'll be able to get it up for a week from tomorrow, so I'll have to have a name.
You could call it. You could call it Popcorn with a Gushowitz. That one won't be taken.
I was thinking just about calling it, website with no name.
Well, that's boring. You want something with some wit. I mean, but I think, but I think that I mean, it'll come, it'll occur. I mean,
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, lost and found films, whatever,
Yeah, well, and I was also thinking something along the lines of not just a movie site, because that would take not just a movie, but talking about other movies.
Yes.
So, so I'm playing around with a bunch of ideas. The main goal is to get this last review up. I'm writing a review for next month's movie on Saturday, and I'll write the last review.
Okay.
And then also work on the podcast, which I get real excited about, as long as it keeps moving forward. I can always rely on Elaine to say something that helps me move forward. I don't know if I ever told Elaine this, but I know I told you this, Mark, that when I first started this group, I was so down on myself, down on that werewolf script.
Mm-hmm.
And it was words from Elaine that kind of snapped me out of
that.
Great.
Great.
You.
Well, I'll stop talking and let Elaine talk.
Yeah. So anyway, and then I'm just waiting for music from
Earl.
And it's to finish my short, so that's
great.
Kind of on the edge as well.
Great. Yeah.
The good news is that I've been getting some paid work. I'm not paid for it yet because I don't wait until it's done. But it's looking like if this goes good, that now that Corona and everything's over, I might have some regular editing work.
Cool.
Wow.
It's not going to be every week, but it'll be like every other week type of thing. And so at least that's kind of
cool. Well, that's great.
And that Broadway streaming thing that you just brought up.
Yes.
That's a really good suggestion. We just talked about it in my writers group about 2 weeks ago, because a lot of people are writing plays,
yes,
as well as scripts, and they don't necessarily understand the difference between movie and
yeah.
So I brought up that exact streaming site to say, you should see how they do it in plays as opposed to also how they do it.
Yeah. It's but so Broadway HD is a channel on Amazon Prime, so that's where you can subscribe to it. And as I said, it's like $8 a month, and it's amazing. We just watched J.B. Priestley play that had a very young Daniel Day-Lewis playing a gay husband in the 1930s, and it was really fun. It was great fun. So, yeah.
A lot of people will try and adapt the play into a movie, and also they're basically not realizing that movies are more visuals.
Yes.
And so what you do is you watch the play, and then you watch a play and watch how they made the movie, the successful ones.
Right.
Learn a lot from that.
Yeah, and Elaine has written a number of plays. I've never written a play. Because I'm just a TV movie kind of guy. Plays have never appealed to me really. But I've known some very successful playwrights. Horton Foote was an amazing playwright, and he won the Oscar for the screenplay of To Kill a Mockingbird, and also for Tender Mercies. And we had lunch with him some years ago. Amazing guy, just an amazing guy. But he wrote some great plays, and so yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of people who write extremely bad plays, and so
plays are also a lot more talky because go as much on the screen. And in my writers group, these people are writing plays that they're trying to make into movies. They still keep them really talky.
I know. Yeah.
They visualize. Brian is in my writers group too.
Yes. And that's also, go ahead.
You can also be playful with plays. We went to see a play which was a noir mystery.
Yes.
And then there was supposed to be a chase scene of two cars, and they rolled out this diorama of a road.
And they had these little cars driving on it with poles, sticks.
And you were watching these little cars chase each other around.
It was fun.
Diorama, and it was very, very funny as they were doing this voiceover.
Stagecraft can be really inventive. But Elaine, was a drama major at Northridge, and so she really knows blocking, knows all that stuff, and so she's yeah. But
my favorite thing that I read about, which I wish I could have experienced, because it only played on Broadway, is when we did Rocky. Supposedly we did the intermission right before the big final fight scene. And
yes.
while everybody was on the intermission, they rearranged the stage so that the audience actually surrounded.
Wow.
It looks like it was like a real ring and a real fight.
Yes.
Surrounded.
Wow.
Just in front. So not interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
I've been busy working on this thing that might hopefully will turn into some regular.
Cool.
Short. We've done some music and the website. Keep our fingers crossed that my life can settle down a little bit and mix it up, because I've been wanting to get it up for so long that I've come on and you're talking to Carol about what you're talking about, and like, God, I hope that's not me.
No, not at all. Okay.
Anyway,
great to see you. Yay. 3 cheers, Marco Goshewitz. So is it
speaking of plays, our friend Joseph Dougherty, formerly of Pretty Little Liars and 30-something Presidio Med and Saving Grace and
Judging Amy. Yeah.
He wrote Attack of the 50-Foot Woman for HBO that was directed by Christopher Guest. He wrote an updated version of Harvey with Harry Anderson. He wrote the HBO film Cast a Deadly Spell, which is a bit of a cult following. But anyway, Joe's play Chester Bailey is opening tomorrow in Massachusetts.
Wow.
For a couple of week run.
That's great.
I know you're working with him on one of the Showrunners Network projects.
Yes.
So just good wishes to
Joe
for a successful run.
Yes.
I saw the play when it opened a few years ago when it first debuted, and it's pretty powerful. It's
wow.
The person,
That's wow. That's great. That's great.
That reminds me, Dave, Joe. Adam, I haven't forgotten about the 2 animated. I'm just waiting to get my stuff up so they can see how that's moving forward, and then I will make sure to get them in touch with you.
Great. 3 cheers. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. We have a question from Kevin Scott 76.
Great.
Speaking of persistence, he wants to know if you've had a chance to hear any of his guitar music.
Not yet. No, because the Kickstarter campaign was so exhausting, and and then we just went out of town. I finished the book, shipped the book, and then we just went to the mountains for a few days to just decompress, which was very, very helpful. But it's things have been a little crazy. But thanks for reminding me. I'll check it out. Thanks for sending it. So let's see. I guess Assad, and then we'll do Brian and then Arena. So Assad, how are you doing?
You've been with us for a while, yes.
Hi, my name is Assad. It's very nice to meet you guys. My first time. I'm not familiar. I mean, I know sci-fi. Is this like a sci-fi community? Like a sci-fi
No. We'll tell you what this is. Before the pandemic, 28 years ago, we started this roundtable of writers, directors, actors, producers, editors, composers, anyone in film, TV, or books. And it was basically to create a supportive community in Hollywood. Everyone was welcome if you came with a good heart, and there was no judgment as to who was deserving, who was talented, none of that. And we met every week in person, but then there was also an email component. You had to come to one meeting in person to get the vibe, which was authentic and supportive. And then after that, you could get on the email list and either come to the meetings in person or not. It didn't matter. And it grew from 6 people 28 years ago to thousands around the world. And we have offshoots in New York and many other places. And
so it's the artists helping artists free.
For free of charge, yes, except for the cost of ordering food, the $700 that Dave spent at Marie Callender's. But the thing is, so now that you're at this meeting, Adam or whomever can hip you to the email and how to get onto the email, because you can send one email out to all several thousand members, and that can be a very, very powerful tool.
So you can say, I'm looking for actors.
Yeah,
I'm looking
so it's not
for composers.
But yes, but
I'm looking for a director.
Yeah, but during the pandemic, I have my own YouTube. I am a science fiction writer, and hence the spacesuit. And so I have a YouTube channel called Mr. Sci-Fi, which has over 80,000 subscribers. And so during the pandemic, I just decided to have a simulcast between my Mr. Sci-Fi channel and the table just to for me to be interested in what I was doing. And so, you know, I mean, it just made it kind of more fun. And so that's why. But normally when we have the in-person meetings, we're not doing a Mr. Sci-Fi thing. But it's so the purpose of the table is not specifically science fiction. You know, it can be anything you're up to. That's
we have a lot of geeks, but we have a lot of
Yeah.
non-geeks.
Right, but it's specifically writing, directing, producing. It's film, TV,
music.
books.
It can
Yes,
be
music.
It can be any of the. You know, we've had.
So it's not for chiropractors.
No, it's anybody in the arts who helps with storytelling, and it can be
right.
And it's not just about writing.
So all you need to do is basically say who you are, what you're up to, and what you need.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Okay.
What's the dream?
Got it. Thank you so much for thanks, Adam, for having me, bringing me. Nice to meet you guys. So I just graduated from the New York Film Academy with a master's in fine arts and acting. And then so I met Adam on the set of Fat John the Vampire Slayer.
Great.
And then we were talking about he's working on this project called Space Command, and I'm like, cool, I'm down to volunteer.
Yes.
And then so after that, he emailed me about this table read today, and then so I'm like, sure, I'll just pop in online here and see what other people are up to and stuff.
Great.
And right now, I'm just looking for like gigs and stuff. I'm actually from Toronto, Canada.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm on my OPT. It's like a optional practice training. I think that's what it stands for. So I gotta find I have 1 year to find work related to like acting and stuff. So
cool.
That's why I was interested in volunteering in this as well, like going into business and production and I do talking about sci-fi, I do love sci-fi, like E.T. and stuff. Like I do admire those kind of movies.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, other than that, I'm not sure. I don't have any specific questions.
Well,
here's but if something does
do you have a reel?
Do you have a reel, Assad?
Do you have a reel?
An actor's reel?
Yes.
It's on my website.
So when you get on,
share my website.
Well, also when you get on the table email, you can send an email with the link to your reel to the table members, and then people can start, because there's people at the table are always shooting stuff all the time, and also as
table reads.
Yes, also as a Canadian national, of course, you're Canadian content, qualified. So in other words, any TV show that's shooting in Vancouver or Toronto or Winnipeg or anywhere, you can be of great use. You would be desirable to them, because they have to get the Canadian tax credits. They need to have a certain amount of Canadian content, including the actors. And so I would definitely, if I were you, I would definitely contact all the shows that are being shot there. The writing staffs and often the producers are here in LA, but the show where they're shooting is up in Toronto or etc. And so if you have like relatives in any of the cities in Canada, you can say that you're a local hire. And that's very, very appealing.
But make a list for yourself of the people whose storytelling, whose creation of character really appeals to you.
Yes.
And don't spread your net too wide. Laser focus on getting to those people.
Yes.
Having the table help you.
Yeah.
Because if you love their work, they'll probably appreciate you.
Yes, and
you want to join voices.
By the way, our VFX supervisor, who we're promoting to executive producer on Space Command, worked on ET. He was a visual effects guy on ET, interestingly enough. So, so in terms of TV shows and movies, are there certain directors you want to work with? Are there certain shows you would like to be on? What's your predilection?
Like right now, I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. I mean, this is gonna sound very cliche. I mean, I like Tarantino and I like Spielberg in terms of directors, and then in terms of actors, I look up to Denzel, Will Smith.
Yeah, sure.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah. And who was
very grounded.
Who was the first director you mentioned? I didn't catch the name of the first director you mentioned.
Quentin
Tarantino.
Yeah.
Who? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
Oh, Tarantino. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. That all sounds reasonable. Do you speak more than one language?
I speak Hindi and English.
That's great. You should let everyone know that. Okay, because again, one thing I mentioned to table members is if they want to have their work seem like, for instance, there are many table members who speak any number of different languages, and so if you cast someone, you can say, you can have like a little thing that says, India, and then you have these people talking Hindi or whatever. So you can shoot everything in LA, but you can make it seem like it's got a much greater global scale. And so that's why I always, like for instance, even in Space Command, we've had scenes in Serbo-Croatian, we've had scenes in Spanish in their entirety, and because I very much like having actors who speak different languages, and so that's important for people to know, definitely.
And just find out what kind of characters that you can do better than almost anybody else. That you feel you understand almost better than anybody else. Where you could bring an inner life and create scenes or find scenes with that. Yeah. So that they can start with your best work, and then of course you can say I can do anything. Yeah. But it's good to start with that thing that most people, when you see them doing it, you go, that I don't buy that. I just don't buy it. I've lived that, and I don't buy it. Yeah.
So, any other questions? Anything else, Asad?
No. If something does come up, what's the email? Like, what's the
Adam will connect. Adam will connect with you and make that happen. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, 3 cheers. Welcome. Yay. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you?
I don't have questions right now, but if something does come up, I'll be in touch.
Great. Okay, great. And we're here every Thursday, and we'll be meeting in person at Marie Callender's very soon. Very soon. And so, okay, great. And Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
There is not.
Oh
I
no!
have noticed that David Bartlett is with us.
So
I'm going to put on my David Bartlett hat.
There you go. That's good. That's good. Wow.
Which
I mean, you
happen to have a hat with me.
Well, you wearing that hat, you. Well, no, for me, it looks like if you wearing that hat, you look like if Ralph Cramden were a mafia enforcer, that's what he would look like. Okay, so that was the impression.
Right to the moon.
Yeah, it's a bang zoom. Yeah, for those who don't know what we're referring to, it's The Honeymooners, Jackie Gleason, one of the great classic shows. Yeah, that's great.
They're a small resemblance.
Yeah, it's fun.
But anyway, moving on. So if David Bartlett were here, one of the things he would mention is he's in charge right now of the email table.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is email him. You need to make sure you have an email address that has your name in it.
Yes.
It can't be like Werewolf23 or something.
Unless that's your real name. Yeah.
Unless your name is Werewolf.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
Yes. But this was to avoid spam and have people be responsible for what they're putting out on the table email, because we've managed to keep it pretty clean for 28 years. So that's the reason for that. So in other words, you can actually set up like a Gmail account that would be like markzicree@gmail.com, and whatever your primary email is, you can have it forwarded and all that stuff. So it's not as hard as it sounds. So
so you need to email him, and I'll put his email in the chat here. It's davefilms@gmail.com.
Cool.
Asadia, you already know this because you already emailed him. But
great.
Do a separate email to him saying, I want to join the
Cool.
table. I've attended. The other requirement is that you attend one meeting, which you have.
Which you've done.
So,
yes.
So
yes.
Done and done.
That's great. Yes. And again, the rule is that once you come to one meeting, you're a member of the table via the email and whatever else you want to be. And you don't have to come to other meetings. You can choose to, but you don't have to. So there are many table members who just use the email component, and that's 100% fine.
And you're free to invite people the way Adam did.
Yes.
But you pre-screen them in your mind where they need help, but they like to help other people.
Right. Yes. Right. And it doesn't, you can be just beginning, or you can be someone who's won Oscars and Emmys, and everyone is welcome, So there's no judgment in that regard. So great, terrific. So I guess
email davefilms@hotmail.
Cool.
Hotmail, and what was the other thing? And for Space Command too.
Yes.
If you want to volunteer for Space Command, that's another thing you can do.
Yeah.
And taking off the Dave Bartlett hat.
Okay, good. So now, Brian, it's your turn. Go for it.
Yeah. Sorry I'm late. First of all, I had another Zoom meeting.
That's fine. Not a problem.
what you just said, the Werewolf 23, though, if Elon Musk has a boy, that'll be
yes, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, basically, yeah, I do too many things. As Mark said, it sometimes seems like that. I've actually loved this year because even when I feel like I'm not productive, this is my last week of just drawings. Because I just didn't have anything else to do, and I took a break from writing and started painting again.
Wow.
So it's like I have just too many things to do, but at least I'm always doing something.
Good.
And yeah, I don't know what's going to lead to the money. I don't really care at this point because I'm just coasting on what I've saved up.
Yes.
But yeah, and I'm available to volunteer. I'll email Dave again. I had sent him an email before.
Yes. Yes. One thing I'll mention, one thing that I talk about in the book. The book's Greenlighting Yourself. It's about how to, have a career in the industry. I've always looked at everything I do and found the way to utilize one thing for multiple purposes, particularly multiple revenue purposes. So, for instance, Elaine and I wrote a pilot, a 2-hour pilot called Magic Time. It was optioned 8 times, including Henson. And then I sold as a trilogy of novels to HarperCollins. Then we did audiobooks of it. Then we did an audio play of it. Now we're cycling back to do it as a TV series. So I've earned 6 figures from that one property because I sold it in different media. And so that's something that I've always been. I mean, I learned that trick, of course, from Ray Bradbury and Rod Serling, and Harlan Ellison as well. And it's served me extremely well over the years. So anytime you write a script, think of it as an intellectual property that you can exploit in a number of different media, or et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a ton of different ways to do this, but you start getting in that mindset of how you can utilize that best. So
yeah, it's funny you say that because I feel like I do a lot of writing, I do drawing and stuff, and I have definitely ideas of what to do if I had tons of money to make features. But
right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if I just make one comic book with those characters in it, it doesn't matter, or a short story or whatever. If someone wants to make it a movie, I've already got the IP.
Right. Well, you start where you start. I mean, the thing with any intellectual property is that you have to have a cornerstone. Like sometimes people say, well, I've got this screenplay and it also could be a book. It also could be a graphic novel. It could be a video game. You have to have it succeed or be real in at least one of those things. And that's the cornerstone that you build everything out from,
Right.
So, but the whole trick of it is to make it real somewhere. So like with Space Command, Space Command's real because you can go on Mr. Sci-Fi and watch it, and there it is, But it's, that's the trick of it, because so many people are all talk, the more you bring stuff into reality, the more you get into an active conversation with your audience, and the conversation isn't talking, the conversation is your work, the better,
But if you're able to write it as a book, illustrate your story, then that's sort of a natural storyboard for film.
Yes. Well, depending on your skills as an artist.
Yes.
But,
But really, yeah, I mean, I like to do just basic pencil stuff,
cool.
But
that's fine.
Like, that's kind of my idea behind it, is to make these really short chapter books, like a Mark Twain book, where there's one little line drawing per book. But more I think about it, it's like, yeah, even the writing, like, at a certain point, I know all the story, I know how it lays out, I know how I want it to look. But it's like, I'm not a professional graphic artist.
Don't worry.
Like, I could easily just pay somebody, to show them my sketches and be like, try and get back what I'm seeing.
Yes.
Without having to do it all myself.
Right.
And I think once I start doing that,
it's
going to flow a lot easier, whatever happens.
Cool. So anything else you need?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Oh yeah, about Mark. About your film, your web name.
Mark Gushowitz.
What you mentioned, Mr. Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Has someone taken Dr. Film, Dr. Cinema, Dr. Movie yet? Because there you go. You got a title. You can claim it first.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's the way to go. I'll definitely start looking at that. So,
yes.
That could be a way to go.
Yeah.
Dr. Cinema has a real nice ring to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's probably someone else calling themselves that, but if you get big first, it's yours.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
I'm going to think about that. That's interesting. Interesting. I'm definitely going to start researching into back end.
Because I sent you about 50 ideas. I'm done coming up.
He wants to win the contest. So yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
need to care about the contest. I just want you to get
your
website up. Like,
yeah.
Here.
Doc montage.
I know, Mr. Sci-Fi. I don't know if you want to comment on this. It's not really a question, but it's funny. I was watching. I don't know if it was a documentary or an interview about Harlan Ellison.
Yeah.
And Boy and His Dog. I love the movie.
Yes.
But it's really, the first time I watched it, I just thought it was just misogynistic, kind of trashy.
Oh yeah.
And then I loved the dog the whole time, but
yes.
the last line just sold it for me.
Right.
And then the outro song. But then I read that that's the only thing Harlan Ellison hated about it, because they changed his ending.
What was
the dog wouldn't have said that line.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember the last line of the movie.
Something, but she sure had impeccable taste.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, Harlan. I mean, for those who don't know what the story is, it's a very famous story by Harlan Ellison, who was a very famous science fiction writer. It takes place in an post-apocalyptic future. It's about a boy who travels with his telepathic dog that talks to him, and it was based on Harlan's dog Abu, who was named after the character in Thief of Baghdad, a boy who gets turned into a dog because Abu was so much like a person. Harlan dearly loved his dog, and so in the story, he meets this girl, and there's this underground civilization, and the girl says that to him he doesn't know what love is. But then when they emerge, the dog has starved himself waiting for the boy, and so the only way to save his beloved dog is to kill the girl and cook her up and feed her to the dog. And so the last line in Harlan's story was, she said, "I didn't know what love is, but I do. A boy loves his dog." You know, so it was a very interesting story, because many women went really apeshit over that story, and they did, and he was constantly labeled as misogynistic, to the point that when the ERA came about, the Equal Rights Amendment, he actually became a law. You know, he went around the country speaking on behalf of the Equal Rights Amendment, and he would wear a T-shirt that had a target on it because he was welcoming like anti-ERA people to like shoot him. And so, you know, but Harlan was always a strong mixture of qualities. But yeah, but the movie was made by L.Q. Jones, and I was actually there when Harlan and LQ presented a preview screening of it, and that's when I first saw it. So it's been a long time. But yeah, but that's the story about that.
I think that's a good example, though, of where film is different than a book, because
yes.
in the book, that's a good line. In the film, it's already been stated. You've just seen it.
Yes. And also there's an extremely good adaptation of it by a comic book artist named Richard Corbin. And, you know, so, yeah.
I love Richard Corbin.
Yeah, he's terrific. And so you can look that up too. And Harlan did a sequel. He did a story set with those same characters called Egg Sucker, and he did a third one. Can't remember the title of it, but they were bundled together into a graphic novel that Corbin illustrated. So you can find that, I'm sure, on eBay. So so anything else, Brian?
That's it. Thanks.
Yay! 3 cheers. So do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we do. Our next question is from Kevin Scott 76.
Hi, Kevin.
And he asks, do you know Felicia Day, or have you followed how she built up her show, The Guild, and her business Geek and Sundry from scratch?
I've met her, but we're not in the same circle. I really liked her in Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. I haven't studied her model too closely. I knew someone who was an actor in but in one of her things. But yeah, she's definitely been on the forefront of sort of geek culture, and it's I admire her and I admire what she's done. I mean, it's a lot of actors have to really take control of their image and of their revenue stream, because Hollywood will just chew people up and spit them out, and so she's admirable. She's part of Joss Whedon's whole circle of folks. So yeah. So now we get to Irina. Hello, Irina. How are you doing?
And how is it in New York?
New York.
Oh, it's good. The weather is finally pleasant.
Good.
Kind of a heat wave and then a whole bunch of rain. So this week is finally probably like LA.
Mm.
So, what are you enjoying every day?
Good. Good. So how are you doing?
Good. Still busy, with the whole medical thing. Just very cannot wait to be done with all this.
Yes.
It's like a full-time job. But also, working on my projects and a couple of projects from other people.
Cool.
Might be coming upstate next week.
To
kind of meet a writer, producer, shoot a little tiny film, and just discuss collaboration and see what's there. And kind of curious to hear from you. I've never had a chance to participate in AFM, and hopefully, if everything goes well this year, if we don't, if the Delta. The Delta version of the virus.
Yes. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
By the fall, and another spike.
Yes.
Hopefully, AFM will take place in person.
Yes.
So I'm curious because I'm sure you know
the
event very well.
Yes.
And how do you properly approach it? Because right now I just completed the financing workshop. I packaged one of my feature scripts, and I'm going to be packaging another feature and a series.
Yes.
And of course, specifically for you, I understand how you would shop around the feature fund. I'm curious, can you also do the same thing for series nowadays?
Yes. Now, the proper way to approach AFM is with fear and loathing.
No, we have different opinions.
Yes, Elaine loves AFM, and I hate it. So we're like the smile and frown, drama masks, drama and comedy. But it's worth going to. It's informative. I think it's also where a lot of bullshit happens that doesn't lead to anything.
But they have some
go
very
ahead.
good talks.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would usually go for a half week, which would be at the end of the AFM, and I would go the first day and get their brochure and see who was there.
Yes.
I would then meticulously mark up the brochure for any company that was doing the same kind of work that I was doing and wanted to present. To create allies.
You can set up meetings prior. You can reach out. You can, if you sign up for AFM in advance, they'll give you the contact info on the people who are going to be there, who are going to have, because it's basically multiple floors with rooms, and each room has a different production company, and so you want definitely to pay the money for a ticket, and you want to reach out months in advance to try set meetings. And
what you're looking for is a match.
Yes.
Someone who seems to have they're roughly in your budget range. They seem to have your aesthetic, just to say that it's a match. And plus the fact that even if they seem to have your aesthetic in what they're advertising, see if you haven't seen any of their films, and they've been doing films for a while and you haven't seen any of them, and you live in a major metropolitan center like New York, then again you should hesitate, because that means that wherever they get their films out, it's not that public, right? So I would then, I had pitches, and I would just go from, I would then make a map, because everybody on the 8th floor, 7th floor, etc., and I would just go from room to room to room, for those where I didn't have a meeting, if I had a meeting set, and I would just cover everybody and take notes, mostly because they were there to sell rather than buy in most cases. I would be making appointments for after the AFM with these people, but making these connections, finding out who to talk to, finding out who was doing what, and one important thing is, because you want to keep it very, very short, because they're trying to see a lot of people. So I would have my little pitch, unless they wanted me to stay and say more. I would have it down to 1 minute, and to find out what kind of alliances they like to form, what kind of material if they were open. And if they weren't open, I'd say, well, I'm sorry, but you have a customer in me because I love your stuff, and I'd move on to the next person. But one of the most important things is, because you have to be so much on your game and look for clues, is I would wear comfortable shoes, and I would stop for a nice long lunch. I would not get myself too tired. And if I was tired by 5, I would leave, because I didn't want to waste my time. It's sort of, you keep yourself fresh, you stop for tea, you stop for a bite, and you can cover a lot of people and get a sense of what the heck's going on.
Yes. Also, something that's very important is to when people give you business cards, immediately write down what was said and who they are, because you will get home with like 100 business cards, and unless you do that, you will say, who on earth was this? What am I supposed to do? And the other thing that's very useful is, prior to going, write down on a little notepad like your 3 objectives, what you're going there to accomplish, and keep that with you and look at it several times throughout the day. Because again, a lot of people end up getting diverted from their objectives, and as a result, they end up not accomplishing anything because they're not staying on task. And so that's really important too.
I usually carried a little, something light, a shoulder bag with me. And
yes.
And as soon as I'd finished a meeting, I'd step outside and I'd lean against the wall and I'd write down critical things before
yes.
I even left that area. I'd write
yes.
it down and put their card, tape their card to it, and then go to the next one. So I stayed very organized.
Yes.
How do you said basically to reach out to specific companies and participants
yes.
ahead of time.
Yes.
So how do I even do that? I mean, is the information goes live before the event?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes. Who's joining on?
A specific level of, I guess, I don't know, because I know like the VIP is really expensive. Like, what would be your recommended level? Like, what ticket should I get? Or like, what
you want the ticket that gives you access to all the floors. Okay.
There's a full week ticket and there's a half week ticket for the last few days.
Some people just hang out in the lobby. I don't think they're letting people do that anymore. But I've always kind of frowned on that, because it's like, look, if you're not serious about your career enough to buy a ticket, you could, I mean, then, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on the lobby, people posturing and pretending they're, somebody when they're just basically a little,
but I would
hot air balloon.
Take the half week pass.
Yeah. Because many of the days it's useless.
And I did spend money on going to some of the seminars, especially the marketing seminars.
Yes. But again, the question always becomes, what's the most direct route to what I'm trying to accomplish? And because a great amount of time and effort and money is wasted going in big wide circles, and so you don't want that to be the case.
I would never.
Oh, look!
Oh, hi!
It's Michelle.
I would never let myself get offended. I mean, it was very funny because I went into one room and I got a lecture on how if you spend anything over $500,000, you're just wasting your money, because that's the kind of movies this fellow made. I then went to the next room, and they said, "Oh, you're wasting your time if you try and film anything under $20 million." And I just wrote down what they just said, because I wasn't there to argue with them. I was just there to find out which of my projects would be good for that company. But surprisingly, a lot of these guys, they've been writing a narrow trench, and they're not lying to you, but they tell you all they know, and it's like how to make one kind of film in one kind of budget.
Yes.
And so I would just say, thank you so much, and move on, even if I knew it was complete BS in terms of larger business. I would then write down, this person only knows how to make these kind of films, and so if I have that kind of film, I go to them, but I'd never argue.
Yeah.
And how about series? Because that's something that I'm really curious.
I
do have one show that I developed.
Yes.
And I have a pilot written with the Bible, so I'm curious, how would you approach pitching and approaching that?
Most feature companies, because the profit margin has narrowed or vanished entirely, are getting into series or want to get into series. You might want to put together
limited series.
You might want to put together a sizzle reel for the project that you can show on an iPad, because they don't have time to listen to long pitches. They don't have time to do much. But if you have like a 30-second sizzle reel or a minute sizzle reel, they'll usually look at that. And again, you don't have to shoot anything. You can just grab existing footage off the internet or whatever, because you're not airing it. You're not what you're trying to do is present what this seems like, what it is, the feel of it. Another trick that I love, I saw some members of the table did this who professionally did trailers. What you can do is you can put lines into actors' mouths. So in other words, if, like, let's say the last two, what you do is you have the line as a voiceover, and then land on the last 2 or 3 syllables that match what the actor's mouth is doing. So it really looks like the actor said it, even though you're only on him for the last word or two. Okay, so it's like, this town isn't big enough for the both of us, and then of us is where you're on the guy, and it's like Richard Widmark or whatever. So but that really works. It really looks like you shot the thing, and so that's pretty fun. But
you can run that very short piece of footage backwards. You can change the speed of it. There are ways you can get those words to match.
Yes,
Right.
as Dave and I have found with Space Command.
There's a lot of people who are very familiar with long shots of beautiful scenery and over the shoulder things.
Yeah.
Where they can piece it together and you really don't
She's an
recognize
editor.
the actor. So
Yeah.
So
well, you're an editor, so you can do that stuff.
They but
Yeah,
they really
sure.
search for things that would not be easily recognizable.
Yeah.
I mean, you
That's actually a very cool idea. You mentioned that right now it's actually not the features but the series
Yes.
that
Yes.
are hot.
Yes.
And both of my feature films that I'm packaging have a great potential actually being made into series.
Yes.
So according to you, I really should integrate it into pitch and mention it.
But more than that, think about what you can bring to them that's something they need. So, for instance, if you're thinking about co-productions, set in America and Russia or whatever, so if you can bring production value or I mean, it's because everyone's coming at them with scripts or notions or ideas or outlines or premises or whatever. And so you've got to find what you can do that breaks through their the glazed quality, because they're listening to people for days on end. And, so because anything you can bring to the equation that makes it sound like you're more appealing than all the others because of what you bring, that can be very helpful.
and just see what kind of series that particular entity is buying. Is it 12, 13, I mean 10, 13, however, for a limited series, which if it goes extremely well, they may ask you to do another season.
10 is sort of the magic number now, 10 episodes
Right
for
now.
a season. Yeah, that's what's really going
so
now.
the main thing is they want to know that you're not going to run out of air.
Well,
in two episodes.
Right.
But you very briefly say this is the arc.
Yeah. So anything else, Arena?
Well, are you gonna have a booth there as well, or?
No, I'm going to be. I'm going to run. I'll run from it, and I'll be anywhere but AFM. I mean,
I was curious, maybe with the Showrunners Network, that would be a great place to kind of
possibly.
establish yourself, right?
I mean, I'm at this stage. Because I can raise money. I just want to raise money and make stuff, and and the Showrunners Network, we can raise the money to shoot the pilots, 2-hour backdoor pilots. But again, it's like we're pitching that actively to VOD platforms, and we'll see what happens. I mean, this is all uncharted territory, but I find AFM sort of the bottom feeders. I don't like most of the people I meet there, and because they're these companies that have made all these films and have these TV shows on their slate that no one has ever heard of, and it's like.
We have a different opinion.
Well, we do. So, but I'm, we'll see what the future brings. It's, I don't know, but on the other hand, one thing I always say is, if you go to anything, something might happen. If you don't go, it guarantees nothing will happen. So I think going to these places, it can be amazing.
Yeah, especially if you research. Get look at the people online, look them up. Hit your primary targets.
Yeah.
And just research the hell out of it.
Yeah, and figure out an icebreaker line. So in other words, something that you can say to anybody that gets a conversation going. So you can say like, "Oh, well, what brings you here?" Or "Oh, that's you're carrying that Chihuahua with 2 heads. That is that related to your project or whatever." And but yeah, just talk to as many people as you can. But if someone's obviously a waste of time, you have to also find ways to extricate yourself from conversations as well as get into them, so because Elaine always tries to be nice and ends up spending years talking to somebody.
Not at the AFM. People are on the run.
Yeah, but
People are on the run.
but I'll just say, oh, I have to talk to someone who isn't a hallucination or whatever, and that then I'm it's easy.
Well, I've never been hung up at the AFM. Out,
yeah,
get it done.
Yeah.
And make an appointment for later.
Yeah, or you just get a restraining order, whatever, whatever works.
Sometimes, or a few times I go in and out, and I say, "Oh wait, can you come back at 2?"
Yes.
When I have a free hour, I say, "Sure."
Yes. Or alternatively, you can draw eyes on your eyelids so that you can actually take a nap and seem attentive at the same time. So anything else, Arena?
That was great.
Yay, 3 cheers. One thing I will mention, you were saying you'd be going to upstate. I assume that you mean upstate New York, right?
Yes.
In upstate New York, depending where you're going, Elaine and I shot that Star Trek episode with George Takei in upstate New York, and they've stopped filming episodes, but they've turned that into a museum with replicas of the sets from the original Star Trek, and it's pretty neat. And so you might want to Google that and see if you're going to be anywhere near there, because it's worth checking out if you're going to be near there.
And what is it called again?
It's the Star Trek sets. If you just type into Google upstate New York Star Trek sets, you'll find it. It'll come up immediately.
I'll look it up. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Yay! 3 cheers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. We have a question from El Johnarino.
Hi.
Hey.
Who says, welcome back.
Thanks.
Have you ever asked an untrained person you've met to try out a reading for you on a hunch and ended up hiring them?
Yes.
In restaurants.
Yeah, it's here in Los Angeles, every waiter or waitress is either a writer or an actor or both. And so we've cast many actresses and actors. In fact, the actor who plays Ethan McDowell's son in Space Command was a waiter that we met, and he just looked so much like someone who would be Ethan's son that we cast him.
We have cast out of restaurants, but
we read them first. We make sure they can act.
But we say, "Are you an actor?" And they carry a certain kind of energy in it.
Yes.
Attentiveness and
but most people who think they can act can't, and so it's like most people who think they can write can't, and so you really have to make sure that they can do the job before you waste your time. So, but yeah, I don't. If someone wants to do a reading or or audition, I mean that's why we have worldwide talent searches for Space Command. Let me get some tea. So so I guess next on the list, I guess Michelle, you're next.
Michelle.
Go for it.
Okay, you're muted.
You're muted.
Well,
hi, there we go.
Part of my life that is muted. I don't have a whole hell of a lot right at the moment. I did the first ballet class in a studio that I've done in a long time yesterday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A friend of mine was teaching somebody that I'd worked with on a couple of projects. And she said, please come. I don't think anybody will be there. It's a small studio. We had 16 people.
Whoa.
Because everybody was so anxious to get back to doing something, not trying to exercise in a kitchen. So that was interesting. And I am in horrible shape, as expected. I did put out a request on the table to see if anybody would be willing to, for money, crawl around on the floor behind my television set and my, quote, entertainment system, unquote, and replug some stuff that isn't working. And I would be fairly certain that we would have somebody who was expert at stuff like that, and nobody volunteered.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's interesting. I have, what do I have? I have a DVD player. I have a turntable. I have a VHS, and I have my monitor. And the monitor is large and excellent, but does not have enough connections in the back. So I need somebody who knows how to set up splitters and stuff.
Oh,
Adam does. Adam.
I can do that. I've just been busy lately, but we'll schedule a time.
Okay.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Great.
I'm grateful because I'm going to be rearranging some stuff that's back there, and I want everything plugged in first. As it is, I can't use my turntable, which for me is a problem. I have a major collection of vinyl.
Yeah, wow.
A former AV club kid from high school, and by AV club, I mean I was the AV club. I was the only person.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
And,
well, cool. We'll figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime before I get involved with this whatever this thing is at Disney that I'm not supposed to talk about. That is definitely not called Joshua Tree. I can guarantee that. The title was Joshua Tree, and they said they weren't shooting out there. Somehow I knew.
Yes. So anything else you need?
not a thing. I'm relatively okay.
That's
great. Oh, great. Well, that's great.
Congratulations on the being out of shape, but you're going to get back into shape.
Yes,
class.
That's great. And
You can't hear anything. You can't hear the creaking when I move right now.
But now,
the groans.
And also when you mention equipment, I'm looking for someone who has a reel-to-reel tape recorder, because I recently came upon a tape I recorded talking about my life in 1973, a reel-to-reel tape, just talking about my dreams and hopes and aspirations and where I was in my life at that point. So I'm very eager to get that transcribed, and like digitized. So I'll put out the word to the table for anyone who might have that.
Please excuse me. I will. My dogs are exploding.
Yeah.
I have to take a walk.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Good
Elaine.
seeing you. Bye.
Okay. So anything else?
He'll have one which would require you sending the tape up to San Francisco and having him convert it. That point. So I don't even know if he still got it.
Okay.
So
and Dave?
There's probably one closer in town than this.
Dave, you
probably has one.
Really?
Yeah, I have a realtor machine that good.
Oh, sorry, the dogs are barking. You have a reel-to-reel tape recorder?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
You have a reel-to-reel tape?
Yes. I actually have two. One is me talking, and the other is me interviewing my grandfather. So, yeah. So that'll be very interesting to hear. So David Bartlett has those right now, but when he gets back from, the volcano, we'll grab them. So okay, cool.
He's in the luau with umbrella drinks right now.
Yeah, he's wearing a grass skirt. It's embarrassing. So okay, great. So anything else, Michelle?
No,
Yay!
I'm just dying to see David Bartlett with the coconuts over his boobs.
Yeah. That's gonna be that's the Kodak moment. Absolutely. So great! Yay! 3 cheers. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a Scott Baker question.
Great.
And he asks, are you familiar with the Los Angeles Science Fantasy Society?
Yes.
Which is the world's oldest continuously active science fiction and fantasy club.
Yes, I am. I've never been a member of that club. Losfus, yes, Losfus. Ray, of course, was one of the founding members, and Forey was in it, and sort of that first fandom group. Basically, Losfus was the West Coast science fiction club, and the Futurians were the East Coast. We're talking around 1939, but yeah, Losfus is a very interesting organization, but I really don't know a lot about it. But a number of people I've known have been members. Yes, absolutely. So let's see. So Satya, I guess you're next. If you want to talk about what's going on and what you need.
All right, hope you can hear me. I'm actually at the gym. I just signed up 2 days ago.
Yay!
It's time to get healthy again.
Good.
Well, hi. It's so nice to be back. I haven't been back for a while, and I've been doing a lot of background work, and I fell in love with a couple of shows that I really want to be a part of, and I could totally see myself in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how to make that transition, how to figure that out.
Which shows? Which ones?
Well, this one show, the last show that I was on, recurring, featured background was For All Mankind, a really great show on Apple TV.
Great.
And there's a lot of diversity, and I'm like, okay, so I might be able to be a part of the show, but
yes.
I don't know how to be in their radar. My agent, I keep asking her to send me for Theatrical, and she said it's very hard, so I'm trying to find I can do mine.
Send it to me. If you have a reel or a resume, send those to me. Okay.
Okay.
I know Ron Moore. He's the showrunner. So yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
So I can.
Yeah. I really love the show.
Yeah, it's a great show. They're shooting the 3rd season now. They've got the Mars set up and running. And
I'm in the Mars team, by the way.
Really, that's exciting.
Yeah, featured background. So I was like, oh my goodness, it'd be so nice if they could. Since I'm part of the team, I thought there could be a chance.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's very cool. But yeah, send me your information and I'll reach out to Ron. And what's the other show? What's the other show?
Oh, well, I did Love Victor last year. I was there for 3 months, and I became even a stand-in.
Yes.
So that was really awesome.
I'll tell you a cool thing. This is an idea I've suggested to many people who do background. No one has ever done it, but it's a great idea. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Let's say you're in a background scene on For All Mankind, but then and you're also in a background scene for the other show, right?
Right.
Think about if that was the same person, and then what you do is you do a short film or a web series about the life of that person, utilizing the clips of yourself in those different shows. But it's the story of that person as a character. Okay?
Interesting. Okay.
It's because what it does is the trick is always to do something that no one else is doing. Okay? And it's funny and it's cute and it would work. Like, for instance, another idea I once had for actors to get on the radar is I suggested that someone set up a YouTube channel called Me on Every Show. And because there's over 500 shows, comedy, scripted comedy and comedies and dramas. And what the actor would do would be each episode would reenact a scene from the previous night's episode of some show, and you would play all the characters. Okay, you would play all the characters, old men, little kids, women, everything, right? And the gag would be that people would start watching it, and you do it every single day for about a year and a half to cover the 500 shows. But the fun part would people would be checking in to see what the hell you were doing that day, right? And it would be just hilarious. It'd be so fun. And but so those are two ideas of how to get on the radar. But and so is Love Victor continuing forward, or is it over?
I think they got picked up again.
Oh, good.
The reason why I saw myself in that show is I do comedy, and I noticed all the teachers that they've got as co-stars or whatever are all comedians. I'm like, okay,
cool.
They have like a little role, but and then what I loved about them was the crew was really, really nice.
Cool.
Cast and had a very good environment. And but yeah, if I would act on a show, For All Mankind is like number one on my list because the writing is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it's a great show. It's a great show. Do you have photos of yourself in doing background on that show?
I did not take pictures because I'm not allowed to.
Right.
But there's a set photographer there that he kept taking photos
Yeah.
of me in it. So they do have.
It's always a very good idea to befriend the set photographer and the editor, okay? Because sometimes they can get stuff for you, But also when the third season debuts, of course, then you can obviously grab it off TV and all that, But yeah, but again, be sure when you send me the material. Well, yeah, it's fine. I'll just see if Ron can do anything, if he's open to that. And what's your ethnicity? What's your background?
I'm Filipino, Indian, raised in Kuwait. So
wow, that's great. And which languages? And which languages do you speak?
I speak conversational Hindi and a little bit of Arabic.
Great.
I haven't practiced it as much, but I understand it
great.
Well. So yeah.
Great. And again, these are things. It's very useful to let people know that because again, Netflix has accomplished something amazing, which is that American audiences will now watch TV shows in foreign languages, and what a lot of those shows do is, if you watch them, you'll notice even for shows shot in Norway or wherever, they'll have some English and some of the other language. Usually these shows are not solely in one language, and so letting the shows know that you speak a variety of languages can be incredibly useful for them. Okay.
Oh, great.
And because, like, for instance, even a show that shoots part of itself, like for instance, you might have a show that shoots partly in India, but mainly here in America, and then it's like, Jesus Christ, we need to have a scene that plugs this hole, and they don't want to go back to India. So if they know someone here speaks Hindi, like Asadya and you speak Hindi, it's like, holy cow, that solves their problem. And that's always a good thing to let them know. Okay. So, yeah. So anything else?
I do have a second question.
Sure.
During COVID, just the day we got locked down in Los Angeles was the day I was going to meet with Daniel Hoffman, commercial agency.
Yes.
And they were thinking of signing me up, but then that same day, I was outside their door and they just messaged me like, I'm sorry, there was a send out message and we have to be safe. So They said, we'll think about it later on. It's COVID. So I only reached out to them once and they didn't respond back. So I thought, okay, I'll just so I'm wondering, it's been, I don't know how many months now, 7, 8 months.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And even a manager during COVID, Barry Katz, reached out to me.
Yes.
And he was very kind to even speak to me for an hour. I guess he had the time.
Uh-huh.
And he was giving me advice. He said, do you want me to be your manager? I said, I would love that. And
yes.
He's like, well, I can't do anything because it's COVID.
Right.
But now that things are opening up,
yes.
I'm just wondering how I could open these conversations for those two people.
Be incredibly persistent. Be incredibly persistent. Let them know that you're on For All Mankind. Let them know you've been on Love Victor. Let them know that you have someone reaching out to Ron Moore on your behalf. Just really, boldness is what will win the day, because everyone's, this has been a year, the past year, I'm talking about 2020, is a year that everyone had to figure out what the rules were. It was just so, and that's true from top to bottom, that everyone in the world, really. And now they're coming out of it and they're still trying to figure out what the rules are. It's like, everyone's relieved that the pandemic is easing back, but moving forward, it's like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? And say, before the pandemic, you guys were interested in taking me on, or we had this conversation, but be persistent, be persistent, and you'll win out. Absolutely. And the good part is, the good part is, decades ago, the networks and the studios were making noise about diversity, and they didn't mean it. It was bullshit. It was like a thin coat of paint. But now they actually do mean it, because, the color that they most care about is green. And, people like Shonda Rhimes makes them billions of dollars. And so all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe we really should, cast non-white people in these lead roles, which is terrific, because they finally understand now that increases the marketability of their work. It does a lot of great stuff. And so that helps enormously, because it means that you guys won't be relegated just to, little stereotypical roles, but you have to rattle that cage. You have to create work that's really superlative and really, and again, I strongly believe in not waiting to be picked, but actually making something wonderful. A great minute of material is better than 2 hours of something mediocre, So yeah. And one thing that agents do that I really hate is where they convince actors, it's like, what is my type? They're trying to put you in a box. And your job is to not be put in a box. What type is Meryl Streep? The great actors. What type is Daniel Day-Lewis? The more you can show what you can do, the more opportunities you'll have. And so again, I think it's very important that you define yourself rather than letting them do it. So that's my little 2 cents on that. Anything else?
I like how you touched upon that, because I attended a headshot workshop at SAG Foundation, and they're talking about you need to know your brand, and everyone was like mentioning your aesthetics and your stereotypical everything. And
well, your career, this is something I've said often, your career will be defined by 2 points along a spectrum: what you stand for and what you won't stand for. Okay. And so you have to, the trick is you have to know what both of those are. And there was a black female producer I knew years ago. She was part of my team, and she told me she had started out as an actress decades ago, and she was part of a group of young black actors and actresses. And one of these actors, who really hadn't gotten his career going at all, said, "I have decided that I will not audition nor play servants or criminals." And they said to him, "Well, then you're not going to get any work, right?" And he said, "Nevertheless." And that was Denzel Washington, before he made a name for himself, right? So it's like, okay, so he defined what he would be, okay? So I think, so basically my whole journey in my career is finding out what I'm passionate about and then making that. I don't need to write crap. I don't need to represent shitty work. I need to represent outstanding work, and that's up to me. That's up to me. you know. So anyway, I don't mean to make a speech, but that's just, you know.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Free cheers, yay! But yeah, and definitely send me the your stuff, okay? And I will reach out to Ron. So Adam, oh yeah, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Sorry, I was distracted. Apparently, I've just been put on first avail for background work.
Yay!
Background work
Great.
On 20s.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah. So let's see. We have a Mark Lungo question.
Hi, Mark.
Yes. Are there any shows that you regret writing for?
There aren't any that I regret writing for, but there were some that the aesthetic of the showrunner was so mediocre I couldn't get quality through. Mantis was one of those. Mantis was just like, I mean, I was working up the storyline with a producer. He knew how to do good work, and yet the showrunner was just so determined to throw out anything of quality and go right to the cliche, and it was maddening because it was potentially a great show that they just squandered. You know, I turned down G.I. Joe because I didn't believe in encouraging militarism. So, you know, I've turned down work. When I story edited Friday the 13th, the series, if it had been like the movies and it was just a slasher killing women or whatever, I wouldn't have done the show. But because it was totally unconnected to the movies and was about two young people and their older friend trying to set things right, then I said, okay. And I said at the time, our villains can be perverse, but we must not be perverse in our spirit, in the spirit of the show. So that was my aesthetic. So you know, my trick with any show I've ever worked on is you don't sink to the level of the show. You bring the show up to the level you need it to be. And so that's what I've done throughout my career. I didn't always win at that. And when I was a freelancer, when I was on staff, I could really fight for quality, like on Sliders when I was a producer on that. But if I was a freelancer, then it was all bets are off. So I could make the script what I wanted it to be, but then they would do whatever they want. It's like Forever Night. That was a challenge because I wasn't on staff. And, you know, but no, I don't have any regrets. I probably, you know, if you mention shows, there were probably somewhere I'd go, really? I mean, Puppy's Further Adventure, you know, that was lost in the mists of time, or The Biscuits. You know, I mean, there's certain shows, you know, I know you're a big fan of Centurions, which was not my favorite show, but I wrote a bunch of them. So, you know, Max Ray Trader, you know, that's one of them. But yeah, so no, I'm happy with the choices I've made. I don't regret it. The one show I regret saying no to was I had made great efforts to transition from animation to live action, and Michael Reeves was producing or story editing Batman the Animated Series, and he wanted me to write one, and I turned him down because I was, I think, on Sliders at the time or whatever, or you know, whatever show I was doing, and I regret that. I should have written that because it was a landmark show. So that was one mistake. But there are very few other ones. You know, I don't have a lot of regrets. So let's see. So I think, have we gone through everyone? Is it my turn? I think it's me, wonderful me, and maybe Elaine will get back in time for it to be her, wonderful her, and then someone may join while we're talking. So in terms of me, it's things are going great. You know, we succeeded in our Kickstarter campaign. It topped out at $86,000, and so they're going to be sending us the money, and I've already been hiring people. We're building a VFX unit with Mitch Suskin, who's a 3-time Emmy winner, and Joe Lawson, who's worked with us before. And we're going to be finishing the second hour, the third hour, all this year. We're shooting. We've started shooting the fourth hour. This is not including the 2-hour bonus episode or the prequel episode or, you know, Grizzled Space Jockey or any of that stuff. It's moving along great guns. You know, the real challenge is just to keep up and get everything done. Showrunners Network, I have a meeting with Rock and Mark Fergus and Joe Dougherty tomorrow, and to move. That's where I'm creating 6 shows with 6 major showrunners, and that's coming along. The Serling Estate, I'm talking to the Serling Estate about the Rod Serling show I want to do, and you know, and it keeps going. You know, one of the projects is Magic Time, which is based on the pilot Elaine and I wrote that I wrote as 3 novels, and so I'm talking about this big coffee table book of the 3 novels that would include artwork by Ian McCaig. So Ian and I have been talking about that. So Ian is this amazing artist who's been my concept designer for many years, and he's worked on Star Wars. He's designed Darth Maul and Queen Amidala and Rey and tons of other things. So yeah, so that's me. I'm waiting to hear back from my publisher. I hope they like the book. If they you're always nervous about that stuff until you hear that they like it. But I think the book is going to do very well once they publish it because of the title, Greenlighting Yourself. And I liked it. I read through it, and I think it really works. So one funny thing was we never talked about whether we wanted photos in it. So I just wrote the book, assuming there wouldn't be any photos, but I never broached the subject. So I'll see what they want. I could, I don't want a whole book full of photos of me with, James Cameron and J.J. Abrams and Guillermo and all that stuff. It could get rather tiresome. But though the funniest thing about that is if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see those photos of me with Guillermo and J.J. and so forth. And I met Spielberg. I've met him twice. And one time I actually had a camera with me, but I was too shy to ask if I could take a photo with him. He absolutely would have said yes. And so I went to Sodes and got a photo of myself with the wax figure of Spielberg. So if you look on my Facebook page, you'll see a line of photos with James Cameron and so forth, and Spielberg will look slightly waxy. So but it's pretty funny. And but beyond that, things are great. I have no complaints. Life is good. And Elaine is back. So Elaine, you don't want to take your turn, Elaine? Oh, you should. People want to know what you're doing. No, I'll drag her back. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam? Here she is.
Yeah, we can do
one last.
Do one more here. Yeah, here we go. Mark Gardner wants to know, who are some actors you are trying to get onto Space Command now?
Yes. And not just Space Command, but Sweet Haven, which is the show I'm creating with Rockme O'Bannon, and Elena and I are writing on it and directing it and producing it. There's a lot of actors. I mean, on Sweet Haven, we have Veronica Cartwright, we've got Barbara Bain, we've got Mike Harney, we've got Bob Picardo, we've got Marta Kristen from the original Lost in Space. She was the older daughter. She still looks fabulous. Gates McFadden is in it. I've been trying to reel in Nana Visitor and what's his name, who played Riker. I've been talking to him, and LeVar Burton, obviously. Who else? There's a bunch of actors that I love. We have James Hong already, of course. We've, it's just I just keep going, and the great thing is that science fiction actors know each other, so that helps. Bill Mumy is the one who got me in touch with Marta Kristen and Veronica Cartwright. I've been a fan of hers forever. I mean, she's in The Birds, she's in Alien. I mean, just spectacular. And but yeah, there's a ton of people. Any other actors that we're trying to get?
We have a laundry list.
Yeah. So I'm
suggesting Bruce Davison.
Yes, Dave wants me to cast Bruce Davison. Yeah, absolutely. It's there on the list. And who else? There's just on and on. I mean, Armin Shimmerman, Christina Moses, Ethan Phillips. Yeah, it goes on and on. I mean, there's so many actors that I love working with. And the great part is that in science fiction, the fans are loyal to certain actors like Bob Picardo. So when you get someone like him, and of course he is in Space Command already. We lost Mira Furlan very sadly to the West Nile virus. Very tragic, but I'm so glad I got to create a role for her. We worked together on Babylon 5, and I'd wanted to work with her again for years and years and years. So I'm so glad we got to do that. But yeah, it's just an embarrassment of riches. What I'm telling my actors now is that with the Showrunners Network, we're creating an ensemble where you'll see the same actors playing different roles in the different shows, and that's very fun and very exciting. And
kind of like all of British television.
Yes, and so yeah, and that's fun. So like for instance, Bob Picardo plays a mining foreman, and Yusuf Sikander in Space Command, but he plays. He was going to play Mira Furlan's husband in Sweet Haven, but then we lost Mira, so now he's playing Marta Kristen's husband, and so it's a completely different character. And but it's great. It's really, really great. So anything else, Elaine?
No.
So now it's your turn. Yay, Elaine! 3 cheers.
Yay. Well, it's very nice to be emerging from COVID and to I had to walk around the block without a mask, which is great.
Yes.
Walking my dogs, I could breathe. But again, just juggling a massive projects, some with Mark and some on my own.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful.
Here's the to-do list, and this is only part of it. I mean, Jesus, it's pretty crazy. So
I'm working with a wonderful director of development person in London who's trying to get things going, both here in England. I'm very, very glad that it's that it's more and more a world market, and I tend to like to write for world market. I write science fiction with Mark, but on my own, it's mostly social dramas, character stuff, and people talk to each other because I did come out of plays. And I just love to have people gabbing at each other. So even that one science fiction piece that Mark got me to write ended up being two characters in a room talking to each other, right?
Yes.
So I can't seem to get quite away from my love of John.
Well, that's the other thing. I'm going to be doing. I'm launching a Kickstarter campaign August 1st, where I'll on the Twilight Zone Blu-ray set, which I produced. I did 52 episode commentaries. That leaves 104 left. I'm going to be doing a Kickstarter campaign to do the other 104 commentaries on the original Twilight Zone episodes. The goal is to raise $100,000 to clear $100,000, which I will then give to Elaine to make one of her movies, or at least make as much of one of her movies as she can. So I'm ramping up to do that. So if anyone knows any websites or publications that would like to interview me about the Twilight Zone, I'm the world's expert because I wrote the Twilight Zone Companion. So I would be happy to do that because we're going to schedule 2 interviews per day throughout the month of that campaign. It begins August 1 and it ends, at the end of that month. So we want to make it happen. So go ahead, Elaine.
No, just keeping very, very busy. I felt very lucky to be able to keep busy during COVID, partially because we were in post.
Yeah.
And but also just building relationships, and we're going to be building a company website. Michelle, my friend and I are.
Well, your development executive.
Friend and I, called Better Angels, and we're just gathering tons of material to put on there. It should be something that will be a lot of fun, and we'll let you know when it's when it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
when we launch.
Anything you need?
Oh, of course, money, yes. Production companies.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot of wonderful actors from the table. Yay.
Yes. Okay.
And Michelle is. We're just waiting for the money, and we're looking at shooting Voiceless Roar in
Fillmore. Yeah. Yeah. But another alternative would be shooting Ashes, doing principal photography on Ashes, and have Mitch Suskin oversee prep. So, because he's our executive producer in charge of VFX.
But I have an amazing DP, and it's a great relationship. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yay! 3 cheers, Elaine. So, and by the way, June 25th will be our 44th wedding anniversary. Yay, us! And then August 21st and August 25th are our birthdays. We combine our ages. We'll be 142. Yes, 142. So that's going to be a landmark as well. So we're doing pretty well for 142. So I think that's it for now. We've had a lovely evening with everybody, and we're here same time, same place. So definitely check it out, and have a great week. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll talk very soon. Bye, guys. Take care. Yay, everybody. Bye. Bye. Take care. Thanks, guys.